All right, everybody, welcome to Fantasy Football Live with the Fantasy Sports Boss. Sorry I'm late. Just misplaced something that I needed for the stream, but I'm here now. And before I get into the show itself, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification button if you haven't done so already. So I posted a new podcast. I actually just posted. I would say just about a couple of minutes ago. So make sure you check that out. My new podcast was posted, and it was interesting because I decided on that podcast to go in on possibly going tight end quarterback right off the bat in 2023 fantasy football drafts. And, I shared my results on that, and it was an interesting concept. In terms of if that strategy would work. So make sure you check out that podcast. It literally just went up just about, I would say, a couple of minutes ago. And so as far as today is concerned, I also wanted to go over all of the news of the day as we do pretty much on any stream. And then, of course, if you have any questions, you could use the chat and post whatever questions you have, because, drafts are certainly, they have been underway since May, but they're really getting going now. And of course, August just about a week away. So training camps are really going to open up for everybody over the next couple of days. But some breaking news just before I came on here, that the Raiders reached agreement with Pro Bowl cornerback Marcus Peters. So Marcus Peters signs with the Raiders today. And obviously not really a fantasy a move that moves the fantasy needle. But, the Raiders, at least for a team that's expected to struggle this season, they're, by all appearances, are still trying, even through the Josh Jacobs scenario and the fiasco that's going on there with Josh Jacobs and his contract situation. But like any stream or podcast, want to go over the news of the day first, and then I want to get into the running backs that you should avoid at cost and those who you should take in their place. So I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But Kadarius Toney, one of the news items of the day, he had gone through some kind of cleanup procedure on his knee, and he aggravated the knee fielding punts on Sunday. So he's going to miss time in training camp, but he is expected to be ready to go once the season gets underway for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Kadarius Toney is really getting a lot of love. Basically, any receiver attached to the Kansas City passing game with the best quarterback in the NFL, and Pat Mahomes, is going to get attention in fantasy football. I think the hype is a little overblown, coming from somebody who witnessed him here in New York as a Giant fan. No doubt about it. There is talent there. There's an explosion in and out of his cuts, massive speed, elusiveness, you name it. This is what Kadarius Toney brings to the field on a weekly basis. The problem is he doesn't bring himself to the field on a weekly basis because he's always injured. Chronic hamstring trouble with the Giants that ultimately led, plus a poor attitude that ultimately led to him being traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. And it was a buy low for the Chiefs. I mean, let's face it. Ever since losing Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs have looked for an explosive player to replace him in the offense. Not saying Toney is Tyreek Hill, but he has a lot of those same qualities as a game-breaking wide receiver who could take a short dump-off pass and go the distance. So, listen, no doubt about it, Toney has potential, but I've sounded the horn for Richie James this entire summer, and I still believe in Richie James, the player. While everybody's chasing Sky Moore and everybody's chasing Kadarius Toney, Richie James is the only proven receiver among those three. He's done it. He did it for the Giants last season, catching over 50 passes in what was a really rough New York Giants passing attack. So, Richie James is free in drafts. He's going undrafted in a lot of leagues, and he's kind of slipped through the cracks, overshadowed. Even Marquez Valdes-Scantling is getting more attention than Richie James, which I think is unwarranted. And, I still think Richie James is somebody who has exceptional value considering the situation he's in and the wide receiver needy aspect of the Chiefs for sure. So that's something that I think needs to be looked at as well. The rookie quarterback signed contracts today. Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud are in the fold. So those guys are now signed, sealed, and delivered. And there was no fear that either one of those guys were going to hold out. But now it's really just getting to work and staking their claim to the starting quarterback job. And I think both guys, certainly CJ Stroud is going to open up as a starter, as is Bryce Young. I don't see any scenario where either guy doesn't. Anthony Richardson may need a couple of weeks. It's well known that he's vastly inexperienced, did not play a lot in college. And then you have Gardner Minshew, who's a very capable back who can help you in short spurts, is a good passer, and also has some underrated athleticism. So I think that, he's somebody that can be looked at for sure, as somebody that can help the Colts at least. And really, if you're a Michael Pittman owner, you'd rather have Gardner Minshew as your quarterback than Anthony Richardson. You'd rather, if you're a Jonathan Taylor owner, you'd rather have Gardner Minshew at quarterback, because Anthony Richardson's just going to keep the ball himself, not dump it off to Taylor. He's going to keep it around the goal line, score touchdowns. So, these are things that need to be taken into consideration. All right, Randy Miller, my friend, posted the first question, 12-team PPR. I have the 108. I'm thinking of taking Chubbs, Adams, or Diggs. I was offered picks 36, 37 in exchange for pick 17. If I did that, I would have picks 8, 32, 36, 37, 41. I like Diggs better than Chubb. I know there's a lot of chatter about Chubb getting more catches this season. I do like Diggs. I like Diggs better than Adams, no doubt about it. I have a lot of reservations about Davante Adams in terms of Jimmy Garoppolo, a quarterback, in terms of the run leanings of the offense as a whole. And I don't even trust Josh McDaniels as a head coach. So I would prefer Diggs. So as far as trading the pick, 17 is a high pick. I don't think you need to do that. I would stand pat on what you have there. I think 17 is a high pick to give up. I would stand pat on what you have there, Randy. So, but anyway, so a couple of the other things I wanted to get to today. So we heard about Nyheim Hines torn ACL in his left knee, out for the entire season. And this was a crazy story. So apparently he was on some sort of jet ski and somebody else hit him, and major knee injury was the first word that came out this morning. And then it was updated to reflect the fact that he tore his ACL, and obviously he's going to be done for the season. So now that's just one less mouth to feed in the Buffalo running back room. And James Cook and Damian Harris move up a rung, if you will. Well, they were both ahead of Hines as it was, but now maybe it consolidates the two of them as the two main guys. And really, James Cook, this is interesting to me. So Damian Harris, the Buffalo Bills have needed a road grading running back that can score from in close. All right. That's why Josh Allen has been keeping it so much around the red zone, because they haven't. Devin Singletary, that wasn't his game. They need somebody that can convert short yardage situations, especially around a goal line as well. And I think that's why Damian Harris, could be a really good pickup for them. Now, we know Damian Harris doesn't catch the football, and that is where James Cook comes into play. And Cook, he really ran the ball well last season. But here's the thing with James Cook. Even when he was in college, he was part of a committee. He's never, ever, ever been a clear top guy, a clear top running back. Going back to college. And I think the Bills don't view him as that as well. So James Cook he's kind of a smart alecky pick in the later rounds of a PPR league. And while I don't hate it, I think, there's not as big of a path to consistent fantasy football relevancy as some might think. I think Damian Harris is going to get the majority, maybe almost all of the goal line carries. And Harris has proven he can help in that aspect a couple of years ago with all those touchdowns for the New England Patriots. So, I think James Cook is somebody that might be getting a little bit overdrafted. If you really look at it there. So the other thing I wanted to talk about too, in terms of, so Randy brought it up as well, about the Denver backfield, Javonte Williams. So that was the big thing yesterday with Javonte Williams. So Javonte Williams not going on PUP is really, really a big story, because it was expected that he would. It was expected that he would go on PUP, at least to begin training camp. And there was even a thought he was going to start the season on PUP as well, because it was a very serious knee injury, torn ACL, also torn MCL, and tore PCL. So that's 3 different ligaments that he tore in his knee. But apparently Williams is, on the Adrian Peterson path to recovery. Of course, Adrian Peterson had one of the quickest recoveries I've ever seen, or anyone's ever seen, when it comes to a torn ACL a number of years ago with the Minnesota Vikings. And it appears Javonte Williams is on that path as well. So now the question is, what is this backfield going to look like? They brought in Samaje Perine, who Sean Payton did nothing but gush over the entire offseason. Javonte Williams, though, he is a supreme running back one talent. He showed it before he got hurt last season. He showed it in spurts while splitting time with Melvin Gordon the year before that as well. So, this to me is interesting now. It's not exactly clear. And that's what the preseason, I guess, is going to reveal, is what the plan here is in terms of Peyton and his two running backs. Like I said, he's done nothing but praise Samaje Perine. And really, Samaje Perine has been really good. He averaged the last 3 years 4.8, 4.5, and then last year 4.1, which wasn't great. But 27 and 38 receptions the last 2 seasons. And that's really part-time duty behind Joe Mixon. So it's a little bit puzzling to me. I don't think he's going to be the alpha, to answer your question. I think that a healthy Javonte Williams is going to get at least half the carries, maybe more. And listen, Sean Payton did this with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Both of those guys were able to be really solid fantasy assets with the New Orleans Saints when Peyton was there. So it can work for both of them. Yes, Perine was looking like a really good value for a while, but then this news about Javonte Williams kind of throws some cold water on it. And now Javonte Williams' status, he's going to start moving up, his ADP as well going forward. And that's something that we have to keep an eye on as well. So for me, I wasn't chasing Perine anyway. I think Perine, maybe the more he plays, the more he would have gotten exposed. Javonte Williams, I like him a lot, but this was a very serious knee injury. So even if he's ready week 1, I don't think he's going to have anywhere near that explosiveness that he had as a rookie. I tend to fade running backs coming off torn ACLs, especially an extensive one like Williams had. I know Breece Hall, I talked up Breece Hall, and I still believe in the talent. His was a less serious knee injury, but if they bring in Dalvin Cook, which still is the rumor, then I'm fading him as well. So we got to see what happens there. William, as far as Kenneth Walker in a dynasty league, it's hard to say because they brought in the kid from UCLA, and Pete Carroll, he loves multiple running backs. He's never been a bell cow guy. All right. Pete Carroll's always liked to spread the wealth among his running backs. And Kenneth Walker, listen, he was very explosive when he first got the starting job last season. He kind of tailed off as the season went on. He's had injury problems going back to college, does not catch the football. So there are warts with Kenneth Walker. Meanwhile, Charbonnet or Carbonet, I don't even know how you pronounce the last name, but the kid from UCLA who I liked coming into the draft can catch the ball, runs really well. He had great numbers. If you look at his numbers in college, this kid can play. He balled out, and Carroll using a second-round pick, that means he's going to use him. So what's the split going to be there? Is it going to be 50-50? I think Walker could play first and second down. The rookie's going to play on third down. And Walker with his injury history, he's a risky investment. I don't love Kenneth Walker. During any draft I'm in this season, if somebody takes Kenneth Walker, I'm just going to shrug and move on. I'm not going to be like, damn it, I wish I got him. I'm not going to feel that way at all about Kenneth Walker. So to me, even in Dynasty, he's not looking as good as he did before the NFL draft. Let's put it that way. Yes, Jerry Jeudy I like a lot. I do love Jerry Jeudy. Guys, check out that podcast I just posted before I came on here. I did a mock draft where at the 4th selection so I could take Kelsey and then take a quarterback right away because I wanted to see what my receivers and running backs would look like. And Jeudy was somebody I really was looking at in the early middle portions of the draft. I do love Jeudy, no doubt about it. He started to come into his own the second half of last year. If Russell Wilson can get his career back on track, and Sean Payton has a history of producing very fantasy relevant receivers, I'm definitely in on Jerry Jeudy for sure, no doubt about it. All right, so I promised you guys the running backs, the running backs, because I did the series, I did the quarterbacks, I did the tight ends, I did the wide receivers in terms of the players that you should avoid at cost, current ADPs, and those who you should take in their place. So I'm going to look at the running backs now, like I said. And listen, I'm not taking a running back in the first round. So it's not Christian McCaffrey for me. It's not Austin Eckler. Right now in PPR leagues, let me just update my screen here. So right now, first round running backs are Christian McCaffrey at 2, Austin Eckler at 3, Bijan Robinson at 8. Barkley is still going 9, which is insane to me since he's going to hold out probably the majority of camp. And Jonathan Taylor at 11. I think Jonathan Taylor is a major fade for me. I mean, I had him last year. He burned me with the ankle injury. This is not a talent question, although I have concern. Listen, Jonathan Taylor, if anybody's old enough to remember Larry Johnson or Eddie George, and I'm starting to date myself with those two guys. Anybody in here that saw those two guys play know that they faded very early because their college workloads were insane, especially Eddie George. These guys were major bell cow backs in college, as was Jonathan Taylor, and their careers after a great first couple of years quickly fell off the map. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor, but he already has a lot of wear and tear on him. He's going to have a quarterback who's not going to throw to him, and he only has a modest amount of receptions anyway on a yearly basis, talking about Jonathan Taylor. And now you're going to have Anthony Richardson with keeping the ball around the goal line. So I'm not a fan of any of those guys. So right away at cost, I'm not taking any of them. Give me Tony Pollard at number 21 overall. I'm good with that. Late second round, I have no issue with Tony Pollard at number 21. I'd rather have Tony Pollard than Jonathan Taylor. At this point, I'd rather have Tony Pollard than maybe even Saquon Barkley, because he's going to hold out the entire training camp. I truly believe that. And so a guy who's already oft injured is going to come in without a training camp to get his legs under him. And, we could be looking at a pulled hamstring as soon as week 1. So I do have a lot of concern about that. Take Keenan Allen and Herbert, stack them, grab QJ if Allen gets hurt. Yeah, you could do that, Randy. I do like Herbert. I'm not as sold on Keenan Allen this season just because he's now getting older and his separation rate has dropped the last couple of years. As far as JT, yeah, he's only 24, Randy, but he's an older 24. Go back and look at how many times he carried the ball in college. It's scary how often he was used. All right, so looking at some of the other costs in PPR leagues for running backs and who I would select in their place. So Derrick Henry right now is at number 16. Easily give me Breece Hall at 25. Give me Travis Etienne at 29 overall. So I'm fine with either one of those guys. Travis Etienne is interesting to me. So I loved him in May. I loved him in June. I have to admit, I'm getting a little bit maybe gun shy when it comes to Etienne, because there's a lot of talk about Tank Bigsby being the goal line back and also the third down back. So Etienne, who caught a lot of passes in college, and yes, I do love Aaron Jones. Etienne, who caught a lot of passes in college, hasn't really been used that much, and they have a coach in Doug Peterson who wants to split the work between multiple backs. That's been his MO going back to Philadelphia, and I think that's going to ding Travis Etienne a little bit. But at at round 3, pick 29, I'm okay with that price. So, and now Jahmyr Gibbs. So to answer your question, Randy, Jahmyr Gibbs is 35, Aaron Jones at 38. I love both guys. I'm taking Gibbs over Jones slightly. Listen, NFL teams do not spend a top 12 pick on a running back and then not use them like crazy as rookies. So Bijan Robinson is going to be used a lot. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be used a lot. That being said, he's going to catch 60 passes in this offense. I don't think there's any doubt that he's going to go nuts in a PPR league. But if you're looking for touchdowns, David Montgomery is going to be that guy. So you just got to keep things in perspective with Jahmyr Gibbs, is that, I think he's a more durable DeAndre Swift, and that's the kind of role that they're going to use for him. But David Montgomery was brought in for a reason on a 3-year contract. It wasn't a 1-year deal. It was a 3-year deal. He was brought in for a reason to handle those goal line carries. All right, so Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon's 37 overall. So Mixon is really sliding. I think the community and the fantasy football community is making the right call here on Mixon. Kenneth Walker as at 40. Listen, give me Miles Sanders at 44 and give me J.K. Dobbins at 53 over Walker at 40, over Mixon at 37. No doubt. Neutral on Dameon Pierce, but I love Miles Sanders at 44. Okay. I love what he brings to the table this season. He's going to get the majority of work in this Carolina backfield. I think Miles Sanders, listen, if you go back to his rookie season, he caught a lot of passes. He averaged over 5 yards per carry last season, scored a bunch of touchdowns. He's capable. Now he does run very hot and cold. It's not a straight path with Sanders on a weekly basis. He goes up and down more than an elevator, but I think the numbers are going to be there. They have a young quarterback, so they're going to need to take the pressure off of him, and they gave Sanders a decent contract in the offseason. Chuba Hubbard is really not much of a impediment in terms of Sanders getting a high amount of carries, and they said, talking about the coaching staff there, they're going to use him in the passing game. So Miles Sanders, to me, is very PPR friendly. So At 44, I'm good with that. So, we're talking the fourth round. It's come up. So Sanders was a fifth round guy. He's now moving into the fourth round. So it's coming up. And I do like J.K. Dobbins at 53. I'm not worried about the pup. He's a little pissed off about his contract right now. But J.K. Dobbins, if they use him in the passing game, with the fact that he's an explosive 5+ yard per carry guy, I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be tremendous. I really do. And I've been a critic of his because he wasn't catching the football. Now you could say to me, Lamar Jackson, same deal with Anthony Richardson in Indy. He's not going to throw to his running backs. Yes, but Todd Monken is a guy who wants to throw to his running back. So I think he's going to convince Jackson to do so. And he doesn't want Jackson to run as much. So that means keep Jackson in the pocket and make him more willing to throw underneath. All right. Some other prices here. Listen, Alexander Mattison at 68, it's not terrible. He wasn't very good last year. There's a lot of love for Mattison. We've been waiting for this for a long time for Dalvin Cook to get out of the way. I'm not, it's not a bad price. So James Conner. So here's the tier that I really like. Cam Akers at 60, I'm okay with. He's not going to catch a lot of passes, and this offense is really going to be bad, and that offensive line is scary. So I'm not actively chasing Cam Akers. But James Conner at 64, I'll give him another year. When Kyler Murray was out, James Conner balled out last season, and he scored a lot of touchdowns. Now, they're not going to score anywhere near the amount of touchdowns this year that they did, while Murray is out. But James Conner catches the football really well. He does a decent job. He's got a nose for the end zone. So at 64 overall, that's the sixth round, a guy who's going to be the bell cow back for his team. I'm good with that. DeAndre Swift at 66. Sign me up because I think he's going to catch 50 passes. I know there's a lot of competition, but Rashad Penny can't ever stay healthy, so I'm not worried about him. Alvin Kamara at 73. So if Alvin Kamara gets only a 2-game suspension and he's at 73, I'm fine with that. Jamal Williams is not going to catch any passes. Alvin Kamara proved when he worked in tandem with Mark Ingram that he could be a really dependable receiver. So, I'm good with that price there. Pacheco, the best value in the draft? No. I don't think he's the best value. No, Randy. He's not. Listen, the Kansas City Chiefs threw the most passes in the red zone than any other team in the NFL last season. They don't hand it off to their running backs from in tight. Now, I think Pacheco is capable of doing more in the passing game, but Jerick McKinnon was re-signed, and I think that closes off an avenue for him. Pacheco runs very violently. He runs upright. That's going to lead to possible injury. So I'm not as high on him as you are in terms of Pacheco. But I think the value, he's going right now at number 69, running back 27. So I mean that's a good price to buy low and see what he can do as a starter. What's your take on Johnson, running back Chicago Bears? Roscoe Johnson. So I do like him. But you have Donta Foreman, who they brought in. And listen, when they sign somebody off, as a free agent, they plan to use them, any team. Unless you're the Miami Dolphins last season with Chase Edmonds. They still have Khalil Herbert, who's proven he can do good things when he gets the opportunity, although he's not the most durable guy. But Roscoe Johnson has the ability to blend the games of both Foreman and Herbert in terms of running and passing. I just got some news. Let's see. NFL suspended Broncos defensive end Ioma Uwazurike indefinitely for betting on NFL games. I mean, these guys. You got to be kidding me. So if you're a Broncos fan, Ioma, I can't even pronounce this guy's name. Uwazurike, defensive end for the Broncos, suspended indefinitely. So another one bites the dust in terms of these guys with the gambling. Whatever. I guess it was important to them. Too many solid mid-round receivers to gamble with value running backs. Listen, I kind of disagree. I don't think that there's a running back dead zone this season. I really don't. Every mock draft I do, you could get Aaron Jones in round 4, Miles Sanders in round 4 or 5, Damian Pierce in that same area code. You could get David Montgomery in round 8, James Conner in round 6, Rachaad White in round 7. These guys are going to be primary main ball carriers who can also catch the football. So I think we're in a time period now where you grab those stud receivers and then you could get value at running back later. But that's just my opinion. I like Kamara's value. I like Kamara's value a lot too. McKinnon super cheap. Yeah, Randy, I don't know. I don't usually chase the Kansas City running backs. Number one, like, subscribe, good stuff. Oh, thank you, Fantasy Dog. I appreciate that. I work hard at this. I appreciate it. All right, let me get back to the prices. So, yeah, Alvin Kamara right now is running back 28. So Javonte Williams is running back 29. That's going to go up big time. David Montgomery is going at running back 31, 81 overall, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, listen, I know David Montgomery is like boring as hell. He's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but he can catch the football. He caught a lot of passes at Iowa State. He's a tough runner around the goal line. I think David Montgomery at that price, number 81 overall, I'm sold with that for sure. Definitely. Antonio Gibson, running back 35, 108 overall. He's going to be used more than you think, folks. I know Brian Robinson, who's actually going right behind him at running back 36. Antonio Gibson in a PPR league is going to catch 40 passes. And if he gets even a decent amount of carries, he's going to be borderline running back 2, running back 3. Speaking of Jared McKinnon, he's running back 39 at 117. And there's nobody else I really am in love with. God, both Miami runners are 48 and 49, Wilson and Mostert. Tank Bigsby is 53. Roscoe Johnson, running back 55. I definitely would take one of my last picks. I would spend on him. All right, so that's how I look at the running back situation in terms of who you should take and who you shouldn't. Teddy Bridgewater worked out for the Lions today. I don't know if anybody saw that. So, I mean, the guy can help you as a backup, no doubt about it. How did you feel about Gibbs, Monty together in a PPR lineup? I don't love it. It's either or for me. And listen, part of the way that I break up that CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams grouping at wide receiver, because all of those guys to me are interchangeable. Since I'm going after either one of those running backs, Gibbs or Monty, I'm going to pass on Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that's kind of a tiebreaker for me. I'll take Garrett Wilson over him. I'll take certainly Stephon Diggs over him. I'll take A.J. Brown. I didn't mention him. I'll take A.J. Brown over Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'll take CeeDee Lamb over him. And then hopefully round 4, take Jahmyr Gibbs, take David Montgomery later on if I don't get Gibbs. Like I said, I'm really trying hard this season to grab more touchdown-centric guys. And, in the last couple of years, I've been a little bit guilty of chasing the PPR guys like Chris Godwin, like Keenan Allen, a lot of catches but light on touchdowns. So that hurt me in the end. Consistent catches for those two guys I just mentioned, but the touchdowns were always light. And I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is kind of this kind of a player as well, which is why I favor A.J. Brown. I think A.J. Brown's double-digit guy, no doubt. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be right there as well. So I'm much more apt to take them. Stephon Diggs is a 10, 12 touchdown guy every week. Tyler Lockett later on, he's going like wide receiver 30, which is just ridiculous for a guy who's always around 9 to 10 touchdowns. So, I think that there's a lot of – and Calvin Ridley, who, his last full season with the Atlanta Falcons had 9 touchdowns, and his ADP is rising. I really want to get Calvin Ridley. Just, I want Ridley, I want Lockett, and I want Michael Thomas. Say shame on me for fooling us all these times, and it's fine. I want Michael Thomas because he's like, going in the 10th round, and the upside on him, if he finally stays healthy, is pretty immense. What about Bigsby? I heard that Jax does not like ETN between the tackles. Yeah, I spoke about the ETN earlier on, Fantasy Dog. I've cooled on him a little bit. And I really liked him when the drafting season started in May. And he has slid into the 3rd round, where he initially was late 2nd round. He's now in the 3rd round because of this Bigsby chatter. Bigsby might be the goal line back. He might even be the 3rd down back, catching passes out of the backfield. Doug Peterson loves to have committees at running back, which is what he did in Philadelphia. So, I'm a little bit down on ETN, and plus he's got the injury history. But in the 3rd round, I think I'm still okay with him because he is an explosive runner. He averaged over 5 per carry last season. No doubt about it. What about Patterson, 20 TDs last 2 years? Cordell Patterson, I'm not going to bother with. I had him a couple of years ago when he had that breakout. They have Algier, plus obviously Bijan Robinson. There's just not enough. There's not enough to go around. Not to mention Kyle Pitts is back healthy. They have Drake London, who's emerging. They have a lot of guys. I mean, this offense is scary good. If they just had a quarterback you could feel confident in, this team could really go somewhere. They're a quarterback away. I think Desmond Ridder, they're kidding themselves with him. They're not going to win anything with this guy. And listen, if he proves me wrong, I'll stand up here and say it, at the end of the 2023 season. I just don't have faith in him. I watched him a lot in Cincinnati, shaky accuracy. I'm just not sold on him for sure. So yeah, no worries, fantasy dog. I talked about ETN early, so you can rewind it. And guys, also don't forget that podcast I put up earlier, right before I got on here. It just took a long time to upload. So that's why it took me a while. So, but anyway, guys, I'm gonna jump off here. It was a good chat with you guys today. So look for another podcast tomorrow, plus regular breaking news videos that come about. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Pick up my fantasy draft guide, which is available on Amazon. You can pick it up there. Also, you can pick up the PDF version, which is available on the homepage of the channel, so you can check that out. But anyway, thanks for all your support, guys. Have a great day, and we will talk soon.